David here with Northwest Math and Science, and today we're going to talk about variables. Yes, in my previous video I did mention that I was going to start talking about these, and here I am doing it. So again, last video was about objects. If you want to watch that, I'll probably put up a link, or I won't, I don't know. I'll try to, it should be on the screen. So let's dive right in. I really don't want to get too technical on this video because we are still such beginners that I don't want to really just dive into super deep details about all the different kinds of variables and really even what static means in this case and everything like that. So for now, I'm just going to show you real quickly kind of what variables are about and manipulating them in Java, and just give you a real quick look at how this program is structured and really what we're doing here. So let's just real quick talk about these. We've got our variables up here. They are declared, but they are not initialized, meaning essentially that this exists in memory, but there's no value defined to it. So while there has been space allocated for this int, which is an integer, so we need to define a variable as something. So this right here, which I've labeled my MPH, if you're in a computer science major, something like that, I'm sure you have some kind of naming scheme that your teachers make you follow or something like that. And so this is one that I was made to do while I was going through school, so I'll stick with it through most of my videos. So basically we have our int, which stands for integer, and there's a variety of different variables that we'll talk about here, but for this particular one we're talking about integers, which is just a basic number, no decimal or anything like that. So we've got our miles per hour, our RPMs, and our gears. All of them we've set to private static int, and like I said, we'll talk about private things and static things a little bit later, but for now we just know that this is a variable or a state or a field, and it has not fully been defined yet, but it has been initialized. Or sorry, it has not really been initialized yet, but it's kind of been defined. Anyways, this is where we actually do our initialization, down in this main method. And again, this is just a real beginner thing. We will actually do a proper constructor and things like that a little bit later. Right now we're just making things print out and manipulating some variables. So we've got our miles per hour right here, we've got our RPMs, we've got our gear, they're all defined right there. So what we're doing here is we have, we're printing out, this is what this call or function does right here. It'll print out to our screen this method called bike info, and we are feeding it in our variables here. So this might not look too familiar to you. You're probably like, why are we putting these into a method? What exactly is happening here? Okay, so let me explain this real quick. If we scroll down here, another kind of variable is what we refer to as a parameter. So as you saw up here, we are calling this method called bike info, which is right here, bike info. The method relates, as you can see. And Eclipse has a nice way of highlighting things that happen to be related, because this is the method that we're calling. So anyways, if we go down here, this has aptly been labeled to return a string of info about the bike's current stats. So we have our method here. When it's defined like this, where it says public static string bike info, it means that we are going to return something. If it says void, it's just performing a function and not really returning anything. And so the fact that it's got this string label up here means that we got to return something. And so if we look down here, it says return, and then this big long string of stuff. So if we go over to what I was talking about just a second ago, parameters. So again, we have our my RPM up here. So kind of how I think about this is you've got your method, but it's empty. Like you need to fill it with something or populate it with something in order for it to actually perform any function, at least these empty ones that need a parameter. So we're giving it my RPM because that's what it accepts. Right here, it's accepting a parameter called the RPM. So maybe you're wondering, why doesn't this say my RPM, or why are they different? Because they are different. You could have something labeled completely different so long as it is an integer, and it is, I mean, ideally you would want it to be an RPM, but basically it has to be an integer and it has to fit this. And so our my RPM just happens to fit that, so we will feed it into it. And then we also have the gear. Oh, matches my gear. My miles per hour matches the speed, which is miles per hour, I guess. And so anyways, this method, which is completely separate, it has nothing to do really with any other part of the program. You could plop this into any program, which is why these parameters are a little vague. And so we could put in any kind of thing up here if we wanted to. We could change these just to numbers. So we could change it to 2, 5, or 4, and 3, and you know, it'll print those out. That's going to be what it prints out here. So let's go ahead and do that. Ah, there we go. It actually printed those numbers out. So that's a nice way to think about parameters, is it's whatever you're putting into this method, that's what it's going to perform this stuff on. So as you can see, this VRPM, that's actually what's being manipulated around here. Well, in this case, it's really not being manipulated too much. It's just being put into a string. But still, you get the idea that these aren't necessarily linked. It's just they are feeding something into a method to make it perform its function. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that really cruddy talk about parameters, but they are a type of variable, and it's important that you know how they work. We'll get into more detail with them a little bit later, but for now, let's just focus on these up here, these functions. So let's see here. We've got our braking that happens frequently, it seems like. We brake a lot, so we're braking 4 times, and we're shifting down. And let's go ahead and we'll shift up as well, I guess. Nah, we'll just shift. Yeah, we'll shift up to make sure it works. So let's go ahead and shift up. And we'll do that. Oh, shoot, I don't know. We'll do it like 5 times or something. Alright, we're shift create. This is a high-speed bike, apparently. It's got a lot of gears to it. Anyways, okay, so we've done this. We would expect that in this print line right here, in this print statement, our gear will go up quite a bit. So let's run it, and oh yes, we've started out in 5th gear and we jumped up to 9th. Yeah, that's kind of what we would expect, so things worked out alright for us. I really don't know if there's much more to say about this video. Hopefully it's not too pointless to anyone, but I think some of it was necessary. Maybe a quarter of what I actually said was necessary, but either way, I hope this gave you a decent idea of manipulating variables, and at the very least, you know how to use them a little bit. So I hope you have some fun with it, and maybe you can play with this a little bit too. I'll try to upload the code to GitHub or something. I'll put it on some kind of code hosting site, and you guys can mess around with it. Other than that, I know this is a quick video, and I'll go into more depth later with other variables, but for right now, just real quick, I think this did the trick. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Other than that, look forward to my next video, which, man, I don't know what it's going to be. Probably, I think we might start our big game project or something. Who knows, man, I don't know. But, or we might go into more details about Java semantics, but I don't really think that's nearly as fun as making a game or something. So I think maybe we'll do a game, I don't know. Alright guys, thanks for watching.